Hey neighbors, I'm Mac McCarty bringing you another episode of the Rough and Tumble channel. This one goes back to when I was a young apprentice working with WH. I've mentioned him before. They sent us down on a pipeline station east of Turnertown, Texas, where the famous Turnertown tuxedos are known for. Anyway, we got down there, that facility was down, and they wanted that oil going down that line again. So we pulled up on that location, and we noticed the pump sitting here and the pole right over here with a big panel on it. And I got out of the truck, put on those lineman's gloves, those tall cuff gloves, and he was getting a meter and a couple things out. And on the other side, and I walked over to that panel and opened up that big old door, and lo and behold, on the inside of this great big old panel on the pole was another panel. Inside of that panel had about this much room on both sides all the way around that panel. They just had that littler box inside a bigger box. Well, it looked like nesting material all the way down the sides and the bottom, but not up here between the top part. And so I reached in there with those gloves and going to start raking that mess out of there and cleaning that up. And all of a sudden this critter runs up there and gets in between two boxes, and he's peering at me. And I jumped back and I said, "Rats!" And old WH looked over and said, "What you talking about, boy? What you talking about, rats?" I said, "Rats in this nesting material here." I said, and I looked, his tail was kind of hanging outside there, and I said, "Bushy tail rats. That thing's got a bushy tail." "Boy, ain't no bushy tail rats." And I said, "Yeah, it is. Look at him here." And I reached in there, grabbed me another handful of that stuff, and another one run up on there. And then I was kind of getting reluctant, to reach back. And he walks up there and looks at them two things peering at us, tails hanging off, bushy. He said, boy, that ain't no rats." He says, "That's them there hamsters, them's hamsters." And I said, "Boy, them ain't hamsters." And he said, "Shut up, let's get this thing going." And that's one thing about old WH. He'd get the job done. He's a worker. He's a hard worker. And anyway, he was real bad about sticking his head off in there, and he'd be looking at stuff and get a close look at it. And so he's up in there, and them things are looking down on him, and he's checking that voltage and stuff. He'd been working on it a couple, 3 minutes there, and I'm standing behind him, looking over his shoulder, trying to learn a little bit of something. And all of a sudden, them two critters, they both just jumped right in the top of his head. And man, I thought he was going to kill me, clawing, scraping, trying to get away from them stupid things. And he was trying to rake them off his head. And he did, and they went down on the ground, and he starts backing up, and I'm backing up, and them things are jumping up at him, trying to bite him on the kneecaps. That's what it looked like to me. And he backed up, and then all of a sudden they turned around, they ran up to the top of that pole, and just sat up there on the top of that pole looking at us. Well, in all that commotion, another one come out of all that nesting stuff and ran up and sitting there looking at us. Well, he's kind of leery about sticking his head back up there looking, and checking that voltage. And finally he said, I got to get this pump going. That's the kind of guy you need out there. Man, get the job done. Anyway, he went back checking, sticking that head up there. And I stayed out from behind him this time. Well, sure enough, that other one jumped right in the middle of his head, and he's jumping back out again. And it went to the ground, starts jumping at him. Well, when all this happened, the two on top of that pole flew over to a tree. And then we knew what we were dealing with. Neither one of us apparently had seen a flying squirrel in person. Now, I told you the story that Smitty had told me early on, and but I'd never seen one myself. And we were seeing them that day. These are little critters, and they could glide. They basically glided over to that tree. And that other one went up top of the pole. And so both of us got educated that day on what a flying squirrel is. And WH had him right, had him right in the middle of his hair, you know, and he about come uncoupled, you know. And but we got educated that day on what a flying squirrel is, and that they will defend their turf if they need to. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one. I never will forget that. It was a really interesting experience. Hope you enjoyed it. I would appreciate hearing some of y'all's stories. Have got to visit with a few of the guys, and really did appreciate seeing them or hearing from them. And till next time, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. And till next time, I'm Mac McCarty saying so long from the Rough and Tumble channel.